Welcome back to the Small Business Safari Adventure Team. We have got a rocking episode today because I'm going to present Alan with a little chocolate chip cookie. What is a chocolate chip cookie? That's that little thing that you have at the end of a meal. That's that little thing that you get and you didn't know it was coming and it just made your day. And it's a little chocolate chip cookie. And every day we got to find a little bit of a chocolate chip cookie. And today, Alan's getting his chocolate chip cookie with our guest today, Troy Trewin from Australia,
Hobart,
not
Australia.
just Australia, Hobart, which is in Tasmania, because he sent me a ton of links about where he's from.
I got to look this up.
But what does Troy really do? Get ready, Alan, because here comes your chocolate chip cookie.
I can't wait.
He has not only built a brewery, but he teaches other people on how to build breweries and put them in Australia and across the world.
Troy, you're my favorite now.
See, and so Alan is a admitted home brewer and loves doing it and loves talking about beer. In fact, we are drinking beer today while we talk to you anyway, because it's 5:00 here in the States in the eastern side. So
you lucky bastards. It's 9 a.m. here and I'm drinking coffee.
Troy, welcome to the show. Why don't you tell everybody just a little bit about yourself and your background, and then we'll jump into just having a great conversation.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll just start with this minor correction. I chair the second largest craft brewery here in Tasmania. The state's got about 500,000 people. So that's Hobart Brewing Company. But the business you were talking about before is actually for distilleries. So Alan, I don't know if you like whiskey, but we've helped 500 students now go through our online business course to help them decide if opening a distillery is for them in Australia or New Zealand. And about 10% of our students have now opened a distillery. We launched that online business about almost 3 years ago now, and it's been a knockout success. And on the back of that, Alan, you'll be very happy. We're going to launch the Brewers Institute in middle of this year.
Oh, so I was precursoring it by screwing up. So yeah. I did screw up.
But I am involved in beer with the brewery down here for the last 6 years. It's growing wonderfully. We obviously make great beers. Our head brewer is actually from Colorado, and he now lives in Tasmania. We've got a great team down there and make fabulous beers.
I have to make a confession. So I've never been to Australia, and I had no idea that Tasmania is its own island. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. When I travel internationally and I say, because Tasmanians often introduce themselves as coming from Tasmania, not from Australia. It's just a habit thing. And people think we're from Tanzania, not because no one knows where Tasmania is. But you know the old Tassie Devil cartoon?
That is my favorite.
Yeah, that's where it's from. Tasmanian Devils.
So Troy, after I went on your podcast, I was telling my in-laws about the podcast and how much fun I had with you, and you being from Tasmania. And you know, my wife's aunt lives in Melbourne, and so I was telling them all about this, and they said, "Well, you know the Tasmanian Devil." I said, "Well, I know the cartoon." They go, "Well, it's actually an animal." So we did the whole thing. I looked it up, and I realized they're now endangered, I guess, and hard to find, and they're truly Tasmanian devils.
And yes, they're fiery little things. They're very sharp teeth, so they look cute, but you don't want to pat them.
There's a little nugget for you.
Yeah.
If you ever go to Tasmania,
don't pet the wildlife.
Tasmanian devils. So, so Troy, I know you did this. How did you decide to do the Distillery Institute? Was that something you had a passion for, or is that something somebody brought to you?
Yeah, well, I got into the distilling space 11 or 12 years ago on my way back from London. So I've had quite a storied small business career. I've had 15 businesses in 3 countries with 30 business partners in different industries. The first 10, 11 years was tech. So we had a lot of professional service businesses, web design, IT support was in London, and I was in Melbourne for 10 years. And we had a lot of HR issues as I was moving back to Australia when my marriage broke down. And I thought, I want to get out of selling time and move into a product-based business. So I just fell into distilling when I got back. A good mate of mine bought the last 443 barrels of New Zealand whiskey that were left. This is back in 2010. So a business had gone into administration, and he bought them, and he's just shithouse at communication and numbers. So his co-investors were pissed off. So I started managing that business. We ran it here from Hobart. There was 3 of us, and the crew over in New Zealand, obviously.
And
so
you had no background in that? You just jumped in.
No, Only the year before I'd really tasted my first real whiskey, which was a Scotch, Talisker, because I went on the Isle of Skye while I was living in London and visited a great distillery and fell in love with whiskey. But it was that decision on a beach in Thailand on the way back from London, decompressing after 4 years over there and all those HR issues. I made the conscious thought to get into a product-based business, and it literally fell in my lap when I got back, and it happened to be distilling. So I've done that for the last 12 years. I managed that New Zealand whiskey collection business for 7 years. And then I had 2 years as the first CEO of Lark Distillery, which is pretty much Australia's first craft distillery and based here in Tasmania. Bill Lark, the founder, is known as the godfather of Australian craft whiskey. And he's in the Hall of Fame in the for the London Whiskey Awards, etc. So I ran that for 2 years after the family sold out to new investors. And then I went back to New Zealand whiskey and we did a management buyout. Bought out the co-investors because they didn't want to build a distillery. We did a crowd fund. We built our distillery, and I pretty much got out of operations day to day 2 to 3 years ago now. So I just sit on boards, chair most of them, which I really enjoy. And the Distillers Institute came about because a friend of mine, she had an in-person training business here in Tasmania where people would fly from the mainland and from around Tasmania to do a course on how to start a distillery in person. But she was frustrated with all the logistics and planning, etc. So I suggested to her to move to an online course model. So she did a test. It was successful, but then she said, I can't do it on my own. So I jumped into the business and then suggested we get someone else who's stronger on marketing than the both of us, Brett, and a very technical guy in distilling, Ian. He's based in Melbourne. He was at Starwood for 7 years, pretty much from the start, a very big internationally award-winning Melbourne-based distillery. And we launched the course 3 years ago, 500 students now. Great feedback from the students. And as I said before, 10% have now gone on to open a distillery. But our mission was we actually wanted to convince more people not to open a distillery because, as you guys would well know, starting any small business is hard. And especially a distilling business is capital intensive. So we focused on the business side of a distilling business. So educating people about, market research, understanding the industry, then putting together a business plan, marketing plan, and very importantly, a financial model so they can see if the numbers are going to work for them, if it makes sense for them to take the risk.
So I love that. I'm going to go back to how he started this. Most people going through a divorce just hit the bottle and drink really hard. He decided to not only hit the bottle, but buy the distillery, go to the beginning,
make bottles,
and take it out, and then start selling it to everybody else. So well done. Way to go above. You overachieved.
My last 11 years has been two very dangerous industries, beer and whiskey, basically.
So yeah. I got to ask a question. Whiskey is different all over the world. You've got Scotch whiskey, you've got bourbon. My son's tennis coach is from China, and so he brought me a bottle of Chinese whiskey, and I looked it up. I think it's the #1 selling kind of whiskey in the world. And it was the worst thing I'd ever tasted. And I'm like, well, apparently you can acquire this taste, but a lot of Chinese people must like it. So is there a regional flavor to New Zealand, Australia, the kind of whiskey that you're producing?
Yeah, I think the Chinese whiskey you're talking about, I think it's actually called Beiju, and it is the #1 selling spirit by volume in the world, and it tastes like shit, in my opinion.
It is so bad. It is so bad.
That is amazing.
I'll bring you some. We have plenty left over.
Oh, no. All right. No, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. Oh my God, that's hilarious. I've never heard of this. So,
and I drink it politely. Right. And he's brought it to a couple of dinners that we've been to, and I'm like, oh yay!
Oh, great. Hey, can I get a whole bunch of Coca-Cola to put on this sucker?
There's actually a mate of mine here in Tasmania has started a Beiju distillery, and he's just got it on market recently because it has to mature. So he's making that Chinese spirit here in Tasmania. Apparently, it's been quite well received.
Really? So what is the regional flavor that you're producing in your part of the world?
So Tasmania is similar to Scotch whiskies. So for the audience that don't understand, a lot of people call whiskey, they call it Scotch, but you can only call it Scotch if it's made in Scotland. It's like champagne. You can only call it if it's come from that region. So we've got a Scotch or Scottish style whiskey industry down here. There's about over 500 distilleries in Australia now, and about 90 of those are in Tasmania. So our population is 500,000, and so that is 2% of 2% of the national population, and we've got about what's that, nearly 20% of the distillery. So we're punching well above our weight, but that's because the industry really started here in Tasmania. Bill Lark actually had to get the federal law changed in 1991 because we inherited the Distillation Act of 1901 from the UK, which meant you could only have a still, a minimum size still to operate. I think it was like 5,000 litres, and he just wanted to make a little bit of whiskey for his mates and have a dabble. So he actually got the federal law changed, so you could start with any size still.
That's a riot. So I did know that. I was waiting for him to bring this up. Tasmania has only got 500,000 people, right? There's just not that many people there, and they have all these distillers. So I mean, they're either hammered, walking around all the time, or they're doing what Jack Daniels. Jack Daniels is brewed in a what was a dry county. I don't know.
I think it still is.
It still is.
Yeah,
crazy. So they have to go across the county to go get sloshed or buy the liquor or do whatever. But it's amazing that it's happened like it has. So that's why I had done a whole bunch of stalking and research, because if I'm going to go see my my wife's aunt over in Melbourne, I'm definitely coming to see you. So,
right.
I love it. All right. So today, again, we didn't talk about this before, but you touched on it a little bit. You'd obviously been in a number of different businesses, serial entrepreneur, love doing this stuff and giving back to people, you can tell. As you mentioned that before. So today, what are you splitting your time on? You've got multiple streams of revenue. Where are your multiple streams coming from? And where do you split your time?
Well, we've got the Distillers Institute, as I mentioned, but I only spend a couple of hours a week on that. We leverage an offshore team, very systematized business. It's course-based as well. And we're launching the Brewers Institute later this year. I currently sit on 5 boards, and I chair most of those boards. So that's from Australia's oldest golf course here, an hour out of Hobart. It's also got accommodation on it. There's a fast-growing gin and vodka distillery in Western Australia in Perth. There's a rum distillery in the Gold Coast, the craft brewery here in Hobart as well. So strategically, I pick any mainland boards that I sit on in warm places and make sure the in-person board meetings are only held in our winter.
Well done.
Yes, thank you.
And that's well planning right there. If you're going to pick groups to be part of, make sure that you're picking them in nice locations that you want to go to.
Yeah, Perth can get very hot over in Western Australia. So, but the bulk of my time is on my main business, which the podcast you were on, Chris, the Grow a Small Business. So we've got 3 episodes a week going live. That's only a couple of hours a week of my time though. So we've just launched our online courses called the Business Transformation Program, which helps business owners grow their business with ease and live the lifestyle they signed up for, because I don't think many small business owners are actually living the lifestyle they thought they were going to get when they started a business. So with nearly 24 years now of a shitload of mistakes and seeing a lot of stuff with obviously a lot of different business partners and even more shareholders after that, and sitting on boards, chairing boards, reporting into boards, I've seen a lot, and my passion is helping small businesses grow. I really, really enjoy it.
Yeah, I can tell when I went on your podcast, I really enjoyed it. And then, of course, I've been following some since. Definitely a big, wide group. And of all the people who are on it, I know in Australia, they call us tradies, doing what I do, being a remodeler and a handyman.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're called tradies over there.
I like it.
I actually like that way better.
Yeah, I do too.
It sounds so much cooler. But from that, I actually have a number of people I want to reach out to, because he's had a couple of us on there, a plumber, but most of the people he has on his podcast are looking to scale their business, and it's in a lot of different industries, tech-based, marketing-based. And so I found the interviews to be very fascinating, because they're just not in my industry, but yeah, it's applicable. And I think that's the thing about small business. If you're looking to grow, there's a lot of things. We're all facing a lot of the same challenges. What do you see as a common theme of growth challenges?
Well, I say it on nearly every podcast, maybe every third one. Can't remember if it was on yours, Chris, but I believe people are the hardest thing in small business and where the value is at, because you obviously can't do it on your own. But there's a great Texas saying that the definition of conflict is 2 people in the same county, which just sums up how hard it is, how hard people are. We're all emotional creatures. We're all different. So for me, I think that's the hardest thing. And a lot of business owners need to develop themselves, firstly, as the leader of the business. Secondly, as a kick-ass manager. and then develop their other managers in the business as well. And I think a lot of owners are too busy. They don't, one, see the value in investing that professional development, and two, they just, in the whirlwind of the day-to-day, they don't make time for it.
And you're working with people from around the world. Are you seeing some of the same challenges no matter where you are on the globe, or are there differences there too?
Well, yeah, every business, depending on their growth phase, will have the number one growth challenge will be different. Most of the times it is people. They've got B or C players on the bus. They haven't got a strong recruitment or a really good recruitment procedure. They rush it. They suffer. They fall for the warm body syndrome. We're slammed. We just need to get someone in here, and they get a B or a C player. But then other businesses have challenges like lack of capital. They need to raise money to be able to grow. It could be marketing, could be terrible. Systems and processes aren't in place. So there's a handful of things that are typically the barriers to a business's growth, and it depends on, you know, what phase of that growth and that development, you know, that they're in. But people is usually the biggest one that we try and help owners sort out.
That's why I just said on another podcast, as soon as I find somebody gives me a business that doesn't have customers or employees, sign me up.
Right.
Because I should have picked that one. Because when that one comes out, I'm on it.
Yeah, I had a guy early in my career say, whatever you do, just do something that doesn't have employees. And I remember thinking, that seemed ridiculous. And the older I get, I'm like, well, you know, maybe he had something there.
Well, that's why I went into distilling, because I wanted to leverage, you know, products rather than people's time, because people are hard and messy.
Yeah, people are hard and messy.
So you had extra challenge with COVID. Australia really locked down for a long time. How did that impact your business?
Well, we were lucky in Tasmania because we're an island. We didn't have any lockdowns. I think there was 3 days we actually locked down here in Hobart, only because some idiot broke out of quarantine and he was on the run from the police and he had COVID. But Melbourne was the most locked down city in the world. And my two brothers and father are over there. And, you know, it was really tough for everyone in Melbourne. And I've got a lot of friends still there. And yeah, it was horrible to watch. But from a business point of view, we launched the Distillers Institute in April 2020, so a month after COVID started. And COVID also brought on a lot of people reconsidering their lifestyle and not wanting to work for a shitty manager or having no alignment of purpose with the business that they work for. So a lot of people started looking for alternatives. So I think that certainly contributed to, you know, over 500 students now in our course, which has far exceeded our expectations. But our got a few business mates that have got tech companies here in Tasmania. So whether it's SaaS businesses or e-commerce, and they've all boomed through COVID. It's been phenomenal to watch.
Wow. How long is the course, and is it in person, hands-on? Like, could Chris and I come?
Yeah, you can do it online.
No, we don't want to.
That was please don't come.
No, there's some good in-person courses here if you want to do them in the distilleries. There's a rum distillery an hour out of Hobart that runs courses, and there's a couple of whiskey distilleries that have day or 2 day courses hands-on. So yeah.
No, that's cool. Yeah, no, it's on my list. Like I said, he after his podcast, he sent me this list. It was Tasmania, Hobart, all these, and so I started looking it all up and looking at it. I'm like, oh man, if I'm going, I'm going.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Because
I'll send you a list of all the distilleries I recommend you go and see, and I'll introduce you to the owners, and so you can have a personal chat with them in a tour.
Well, you mentioned you had a golf course too, Chris. So you can just, you know, wrap it all up in a bow there.
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, I think I think it can't just be 10 days. I'm already starting to plot it out. It's got to be longer, right? If I'm going to go all the way over to Australia, I got to hit it all. I got to be there for a while.
We've got 4 world-class golf courses here in Tasmania. So one's been in the top 50 in the world since it opened 18 years ago.
What's the name of it?
Barnbougle Dunes. So it's a links course on the edge of the ocean, very windy some days. It's a very challenging course, but it's
I don't
just
do wind very well.
That's not good.
No.
Yeah, actually, so you know, a lot of guys have been telling me, hey man, we got to go do that trip to Scotland. I'm like, nope. I said, I'll go to the beers. I mean, I'll go to the bar all day long, but I'm not playing. I don't need to play the old course. My game does not.
Yeah, I tend to hit a higher ball, but I got to do that one of these days.
I don't have to.
Really?
No, I'll come watch him.
Okay.
I'll caddy as long as I can drink out there with you.
I'm sure we can arrange that.
Love that. So you spend any time?
Yeah,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
mate. I think you'd enjoy that golf course that I mentioned, Australia's oldest golf course, 18 hole, about an hour out of Hobart. It's a much easier course, very laid back. I'm actually there in a week for a mate's 40th. And it's a lovely course to play. 1822 was when the farm was founded, and they opened the golf course a few years after.
That's awesome.
Mm.
So obviously that's a great time. And I know you, the reason we scheduled when we did is that you had to take some vacation in the middle of this before we could get you on. So that's awesome. You get out there and do that thing. So see, look, other people take vacations too, not just me.
Not quite like you.
Well,
so okay, I want to hear about you trying to talk people out of the distillers business. So they're paying you to actually come to school to be told, no, you shouldn't do this. You're not good enough. You don't have what it takes. You're like here in the States, it's the Marines, the few, the proud, the Marines.
Yeah. And you're not worthy enough.
You're not worthy enough to be there.
Yep.
Well, we felt we have a responsibility because it is such a big decision going into business for a start. And I think there's a myth out there. People think it's much easier than what it is. So our purpose was to fully educate people so they can make an informed decision whether it's something they want to do or not. So it's not to sell them on the dream. It's to bring home the reality of this is going to be hard. We're going to give you the best chance at this if you decide to do it, because you need the business plan, the marketing plan, and the financial model before you get serious about it.
I mean, it's the same thing as we talk about this in my business, is that I can put out a video on this is how you change a toilet. Go ahead. Here are all the things you have to do. Do you want to do it yourself now? No. Yeah. So I think basically that's what he's saying is, look, this is what it takes. Do you want to do this? This is everything you have to do, because it is not just sitting there, come up with your favorite craft distillery. Or
it sounds really romantic, but it's just got to be really hard to get a good product and then make it consistently, and then be able to distribute it, find buyer,
and then market it, and then get people out there to actually buy the damn thing, right? Because again, it's all about making money. This isn't for funsies.
One of the key messages we put out there is that it's actually easy to make good spirit, a bit harder to make great spirit, but you can make good spirit rather easily. But the hard bit is selling it. So therefore we have a big focus on marketing, brand positioning, market research to make sure you're not going into a niche in the market that's too crowded. Like gin at the moment in Australia is quite, I believe, quite crowded.
Gin in Australia is crowded. Is that what you said?
Yeah, there's a lot. Okay. There's probably 700 different gins in Australia, made in Australia, craft gins. So yeah, it's quite crowded in my opinion.
Yeah.
Is Tasmania starting with all of those distilleries? Are they starting to band together and project themselves and market themselves collectively, kind of like Napa Valley does for wine?
Yeah, we've got a good national association called the Australian Distillers Association. So they've got nearly 500 members now, and they do a great job of bringing the industry together, both from a brand and marketing point of view, exactly for what you were saying, but also safety and things like that. And each state here has its own association. Tasmania's got a vibrant one. It's one of the first state ones that really got going. So it's a very collaborative industry as well. When I was at Lark, which is now listed on the stock exchange, my board were 3 of the 5 were like ex-accountants, partners of KPMG, etc. So all big heavy hitters in the finance industry, and they all could not believe that we weren't out there trying to kill our competitors. Instead, we all work together because it's a small cottage industry, or it was back then. So it's been a very good industry to work in, very friendly. Everyone helps each other out. And in the last few years, there's been a lot of a bit of consolidation, and some big players now coming into the industry. So there's a couple of ASX listed company, Lark is one of them, that are building big facilities to build up the volume and with an eye to looking at really taking on the export markets like we did with wine in the 80s here in Australia.
You actually bring up a point. That's what I was going to ask soon, but I'll ask it now. As you start a craft distillery, you give them this business blueprint. You tell them to go out there and do this. Are they thinking exit strategy as they grow it? Is there an exit strategy to be acquired? Is that where they're going with most of these, or are these people just trying to get something out there and produce X amount of value?
I'd say most are really looking for a lifestyle. Like they can probably earn more money running a business. Especially last year, the federal government gave an excise rebate of $350,000 a year. So in a bottle, Australia's the 3rd highest taxed spirit in the world. So in a bottle of 40% ABV 700 ml, there's $27 of excise tax
Good
in that
Lord.
bottle.
Wow.
Yeah. And then you got GST on top of that as well. So if a
You
bottle
gotta
sells
be
on the
kidding.
shelf, but if a bottle sells on the shelf here in Australia for $55, and the GST rate here is 10%. So there's $5 GST plus there's $27 excise in that. Yeah, it's ridiculous. So the government, to help the smaller distilleries, the government brought in this rebate a few years ago, and it's $350,000 a year that you can claim. So you don't pay any excise until you sell over 12,000 bottles a year, roughly. So that's really helped the industry boom, which again has helped the Distillers Institute grow, because now it's a lot more attractive and viable for someone to get in, start it. You know, there might be an old 2/3 of the distilleries in Australia are regional, they're out in the country. So the old pub that's been shut down for a while, you know, you could buy it or lease it, do it up, put a brewery out the back or a distillery, and sell your spirit and beer over the bar and actually make a really good living at that smaller end of business.
And that's where most people are going then, not looking to come up with the Sam Adams of the world or the Sierra Nevadas here in the U.S. where they build it up, and then boom, hopefully get acquired.
Yeah, no, I'd say 7 out of 10 of the smallest lifestyle end, maybe 2 of the mid-tier, and there might be 1 out of 10 that's got some pretty ambitious goals that want to make something pretty big.
Interesting. Huh. All right. So one of the things you mentioned is that I know you're on a number of boards, but you're also part of some groups, and you get out and you network, you do the other things. What do you do in networking wise to help keep yourself sharp?
Yeah, so in the last Wednesday of the month here in Hobart, we host a small business meetup with business owners. So we have around 40 people turn up. We have it at the brewery, Hobart Brewing Company, and over a beer. So we have someone speak for 15 to 20 minutes. Usually it's a business owner talking about their business or a problem they solved, something they can share with the audience. And that's a bit of Q&A, and then we get back to networking over a drink. So that's a vibrant community that we've built up pretty much 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago. We've started that. And we do one up north in Launceston every 2 months. And that so population here in Hobart's 250,000 people. Launceston's the next biggest in the state, about 100,000 people. So it's quite I just love it. Loved networking when I was living in London and in Melbourne. And it's something I started up 3 years ago. And the value that people are getting from that, just meeting new business owners, getting tips, getting contacts that they should talk to, has been amazing. The unsolicited feedback that we've gotten from running those events.
And that was one thing I wanted to pick up, and that's why I wanted to lay it out there for everybody, is that so you didn't have the BNIs, you didn't have a networking group just to join. You actually came up with your own meetup idea to bring people together so that you could bring other people together. So again, back to giving to get, you
right.
And so he started his own. I thought that was a beautiful idea. Here we've got so many opportunities in the Atlanta area, but we have a few more people than 500,000. We only have 5.5 million. It's already kind of built in for us. We don't really need to go out and make one. You just got to get involved in one, and then you can
pick one,
get involved, and then really make that your own. But I love what Troy did by just starting one his own. So I think, kudos to you for doing that. I thought that was super cool.
I did BNI when I was in London, and then I wasn't a morning person. My 10-year-old daughter's turned me into a morning person, but so I didn't really enjoy getting up, especially in the middle of winter. Our chapter was in the shadows of St. Paul's Cathedral, right in the middle of London, and I'd walk, in June or July, in December when it's ice on the bridge or it's snowing in London. It's 6:30 in the morning to get to a 7 a.m. breakfast. I just did not enjoy that. So for me, it's an afternoon thing, an evening thing. 2 great things that I love: networking, talking about business, and beer. So to do those two things at once makes me pretty happy.
Brilliant.
Cheers to that.
Very simple.
And I love that. Yep. And so, so I think, kudos to you for doing that. I think if you don't have one in the group you're at, because one of the guys that I've been talking to quite a bit through our podcast is in a smaller suburban area out in Missouri. Doesn't have this stuff. How do you find this stuff? I said, well, where's your chamber at? He said, that's kind of weak. And I didn't think about, hey, just go out and start your own, because that would have been really heady. I mean, for me to think about, okay, maybe I'll just start my own meetup just to get it going. But when Troy brought this up, because I talked to him before, I was like, that's probably an idea I ought to give this guy. Well, it was great. Genius.
Yeah, thank you. A lot of fun.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said, thank you. Yeah, a lot of fun.
Did you move straight from London back to where you are now, Hobart?
I had 2 weeks in Thailand on a beach, decompress. I was going to get my PADI dive certificate, but accidentally gave myself concussion in Ho Chi Minh City the week before, so I couldn't get my dive ticket.
Wait, there's a story there.
Hey,
Back up.
Yeah, you can't skip over that sucker.
Well, the heat,
concussion in Ho Chi Minh City.
3 Aussie mates met me in Ho Chi Minh City. We had a great week there, and 2 of them are foodies. And one night we just were celebrating the girl in the couple. It was her birthday. We went out and clearly had too many drinks, and I knocked my head and gave myself concussion. So back at the hotel. So it was. I had 2 weeks on the beach pondering what to do next, which is why I decided to move into a product-based business. That's also the same time that I came up with the idea for Grow a Small Business. The .com was available, registered it, wrote 30 or so blog posts, and then didn't touch it for about 10 years. And 3 or 4 years ago, rebooted that, and that's my primary focus now. But to answer your question, I came back to Melbourne. I had to be back for my mate's Bucks party in Mornington Peninsula there, playing some golf courses. He's actually the guy that founded Barnbougle Dunes, the golf course I mentioned before. So I wanted a bit more time in Asia, but I had to come back for that. And his wedding was in April. And so in March, I flew down to Tasmania. I've been there quite a few times and pretty much never left.
So you're originally from Melbourne?
Country Victoria, yeah. Grew up in country Victoria. Went to university in the country, and then 10 years in Melbourne, running businesses there. I had 3 years at PricewaterhouseCoopers, my one and only ever job, and then quit that. And late '99 started two internet companies, and then just kept going from there, starting businesses, selling some, shutting some down. Making a lot of mistakes along the way.
We all do. I love it. That's awesome.
He moves fast though. I mean, he's just clipping through things.
Yeah.
I mean, are you just easily bored and what's next, or?
Well, my passion's growth. So I'm extremely disciplined and focused and very organized. And I just love the challenge, especially this current chapter of my business career where I'm not really in the operations of any business, but I sitting on the boards and particularly chairing the boards because the leader of the business reports to me effectively outside of board meetings. So I had a call this morning from the general manager of the brewery. And I just love giving my 2 cents and also dancing that line where I can't do operational overreach, where I tell him what to do because he's the one that's got to make the decisions day to day to run the team and the business. But obviously with my vast experience and shit ton of mistakes, I can say to him, yep, I've done that before, made that mistake. This is what I would do differently. Up to you, it's your call. But I really enjoy not actually having to go out there and then execute and do those, do the work.
Like that. Yeah, I love that part. Don't have to go execute it because I've definitely made a shit ton of mistakes. I love that as well. All right, so grow a small business. Let's talk about that for a little bit. I again love what you're doing there. How are you monetizing that? I mean, because that's a business in and of itself. But as it goes, how do you make money off that deal?
Yeah, so the podcasts we've been doing, we've got over 300 episodes now. We started that bit over 3 years ago. We don't advertise on those. There's no charge. The meetups, there's no charge. People just buy their own drinks. We've recently launched our business transformation program, which is a 6-month program for our avatar, or the perfect person to consider doing that program is a business owner working in the business. They might have shareholders, but they're no one else working in the business really. And they've got between 5 and 30 team members, and they're having issues growing. And most of the time, as I said before, it's people. So we have a strong focus in those 3 online courses that we have in the program on developing them as an effective leader, then them as a kick-ass manager, and then their other managers do that middle course. And then there's a productivity course for the entire team to get everyone a bit more productive and less stressed. And within that, there is a cohort of 8 business owners, and there's a growth leader that chairs that group. And we have a monthly group coaching call. And that's pretty much how the 6-month program works.
Solid. I love that. So when I went on his podcast, it was a well-oiled machine. He has virtual assistants who help him with things, but it was very personalized. The follow-up was amazing. We're not going to do that because
because we're not a well-oiled machine.
Number one, we're not a well-oiled machine. Number 2, I have no virtual assistants, and you're looking at the guy between me and Cindy in the office of who's going to pump out the by the way, we're going to publish this episode. Oh shit, that's right. All the while I'm running my business here in Atlanta. I love that. So Troy, any plans to come to the US?
Yeah, I love the US. I've been in New York probably 4 or 5 times. San Diego, Seattle, I love. Austin, Texas, amazing. San Francisco. I'm dying to get back there. I've got some good mates over there as well that I want to visit, but I'll certainly be letting you know when I'm over there. I've visited quite a few distilleries while I was there because I launched the New Zealand whiskey collection into the US 6 years ago, 5-6 years ago now.
Well, standing invitation in Atlanta. By the way, I live at a golf course, so we'll find a way to get you on a golf course, at least if you come here, and I'll make sure I show you a lot of distilleries.
Great.
I drink a lot. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting because it would be a good time to visit Atlanta because the craft brewing thing. So I'm from the West Coast. And so, craft brewing's been going on 30 some years with momentum. And then I've lived in Atlanta for the last 25 years. And it's just been for the last few years that things have taken off. And all of a sudden it seems like there's a brewery on every corner, but clearly there's not. There's still, compared to some of the places I've lived. Now you're starting to see some distilleries pop up, and some of the breweries are opening a distillery. It'd be a really interesting time for you to come see all that.
I know.
Oh, absolutely. Alan, would you say Portland, Oregon is the epicenter of craft brewing in America?
I believe it is. Absolutely. Yeah.
I still haven't been there, so it's very high on my bucket list.
Yeah, there's a so Portland is where most of the people live in Oregon. It's a very large state. You go over the mountains to a town called Bend, which is great for outdoors. The weather is spectacular year round, skiing, you've got climbing, whitewater rafting, fly fishing, that kind of thing. And
that sounds very, very similar to Tasmania. We've got 2/3 of the state's national parks. There's over 1,000 lakes for fly fishing. And Bend, Oregon's the last blockbuster in the world, isn't it?
Yeah, and yeah, it is the last blockbuster in the world. You're right about that. And I'm trying to remember the
there you go.
I miss going to the Vizio store, by the way. But no, the town of Bend, I think, is something along the lines of 80,000. The whole metro area is 120,000. And I'm trying to remember the number of breweries that they have in the area. But it's kind of a similar proportion to what you're talking about. Yeah. And it's just phenomenal. And those, you have people there who've been doing it for decades. And when they first started opening breweries here in Georgia, I was really excited, but they just weren't making that great a beer. And just in 5 years or so, I mean, there's some really good stuff being made, but you'll occasionally get a glass of poo too. It's okay. But there's a brewery here near us where the guy who owns it actually is from Portland, and so he's kind of on the vanguard of spreading the gospel here.
Who's that?
Gate City.
Gate City, guys from Portland.
Yeah.
We've been there. Gate City and then Monday Night Brewery as well. So
yeah,
you know what? Maybe you could come here and spread the good word. And if you decide to come, maybe
I've never been to Atlanta, so definitely on my list.
Make it a business write-off, and we'll make a meetup out of this thing, and we'll say we're bringing in the Tasmanian Devil.
That's right.
To help you figure out how to run your craft brewery better.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome, Troy. I have really enjoyed this, man, but I can't let you go without asking a couple more questions. So, what is a favorite book that you would recommend to somebody as they're looking to scale their business? As you have that passion for scaling, I do as well. What's a great book or something you felt would really resonate with people across industry?
Well, my favorite business book, the number one that I recommend to people who are thinking of starting, but especially growing a business, is The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber.
Yes.
Great book. Late 80s, I think he wrote that. And I read that in probably 5 years into my business career, and I've just nearly fell off my chair. I said,
mind blowing. Yeah.
So a lot of it's common sense when you're reading it, but you're just shaking your head going, oh, it's not common practice. I'm not actually doing it.
It's funny you say that because that's the book that actually saved me from my sanity. I did not read it before I started my business. And I was
sure about that?
Well, it kept from that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. A lot of therapy after that kept me out of the other one. But I read that book and I'm like, oh my God, you're right. It was just, it was the right book at the right time. Had I read it before I started my business, I don't know if it would have resonated, but I've read it now 3 different times. But the first time I read it, it took me out of almost going completely insane. I was trying to run a business. I was trying to be the entrepreneur. I was trying to grow the big hairy dog that I wanted to make, and I wanted it all happen tomorrow. And I had to be a manager, and I really wasn't the best technician in my world, but I was also having to do a technical thing, and it was really hard to compartmentalize and start to really systematize, even though I thought I could. That book,
just working on your business, not in your business.
Huge, such a hard thing to really get focused on. So great recommendation. I agree with you 100%. That's great.
What a good question that was, Chris.
Oh, yeah, it was Alan's question. All right. We keep scoring who asked the best questions. So now I'm going to go into my stock three.
He actually paused you to just tell me good question, and I didn't point it out, but
I did.
Yeah.
I muted us to go, okay, that was a good question. But I didn't want to give him credit online because we do keep score. Because if you keep score,
it's 3-1 right now.
What? Oh, I think it's bullshit. All right, back to our stories. All right. Number one, what's the favorite feature, not of this house, but of your house that you want to be in? What's the favorite feature of your house?
I'd say it'd be my chocolate Labrador Carlton supporter. Carlton's an Aussie rules football team here. So I've got a chocolate Labrador. He's just turned 10 years old. And he would be my favorite feature of the house, whichever house I'm in.
Do you know how big of a deal Aussie rules football was when ESPN first launched?
No.
I mean, so ESPN launches the first 24-hour sports program, and they didn't have 24 hours of sports. And so I'm sitting there in my dorm room in college watching Australian rules football and trying to figure out the way the guy scores it and all this stuff. But it was the only programming they could get. And so there were a ton of us in the States watching that.
We did.
Yeah.
I have to agree. I understand that sport much better than I do rugby.
Right.
I don't get rugby either.
And I'll watch anything, man. I swear to God, if you said we're going to watch turtles and it's racing and there's nothing else on, I'll watch that too.
Did you see last week Kate Blanchett on, I think it was it Jimmy Kimmel show last week when she was talking about Aussie rules?
No.
He brought up, he said, because I don't know how they got on talking about, that's right, the Super Bowl was on. She said, he asked, I assume you didn't watch Super Bowl because you're probably into that Aussie rules. She said, yeah. I don't understand the gridiron, etc. But yeah, we've got a real football sport down in Australia called Aussie rules. And then she went on to explain it. There's no padding, no helmets. Everyone crashes into each other and falling on their heads. It's quite a serious sport. And then she gave the extreme example, ironically, down here in Tasmania, in a town called Queenstown, just up north. It's a mining town, and they play football on gravel ovals.
Oh, good Lord.
Oh, my God.
Just in shorts. There's no padding, nothing on their knees. So it's pretty hardcore. That's
hardcore. But I watched Australian rules football in college as well. And so I played college football, and it would be on Sunday mornings. And we were all talking. I'm like, this is actually more fun than football.
I freaking loved it.
They never stop.
Yeah.
That's the problem with American football. We stop, we plan, and then we go out there and, and
Aussies watch gridiron and they go, what's just happened? Where'd the team go? They're having a break like basketball, and half the team comes off, the whole team comes off, and the defense comes on.
Yeah.
For us, that's cheating.
That's exactly right. I love that.
Yeah, I can't argue with that.
Yeah. It's a lot more fun to watch, I have to admit. It was really good. All right. My second question is, we are customer service.
That's the third question, by the way.
Oh, is it the third question? God, that's right.
You need to include my question in the list of questions as if there are.
Right. I have question
3.
3?
Or C.
Or C.
Yeah.
All right. I have 4 questions. 1, 2, C.
Yeah.
C. What is a customer service pet peeve of yours?
When you're the customer.
You got to be the customer.
I've got a few mates that have restaurants and cafes and service-based businesses, hospitality, etc. And the brewery is a good example of this. And it's a big thing that a bugbear of mine is just unattentive staff that don't have the situational awareness around the room. And I just think there's some really simple things, and it's the owner's fault because they haven't conducted enough training, don't have some systems or controls in place. But like someone's sitting there, it's not that busy, but their glass is empty. It has been empty for 5 or 10 minutes. One, there's an upsell there. You could go over and say, would you like another beer or another wine? But secondly, it's just better service. So those staff that don't really scan the room and are proactive about making sure you've got everything you need. That's just one of my pet peeves.
But you nailed it. It's the owner. It's not the staff. I mean, we talked about employees. They're hard. I mean, people are hard. But when you lay out the program and the staff and onboard them correctly and do things, then you know what? People can do good things within your system. And that's the thing that everybody has to take away from this. That's why, as Warren Buffett says, I just got done saying this on another podcast, bigger is not better, better is better. And you got to if you're going to get bigger, you got to get better. And so right now, the ladies answering the phones are doing it better than I can. The guys out there selling almost are doing as good as I can. Nobody can ever top me, but that's a different story. But I do let it go. But tomorrow I'm riding with one of my guys. We're doing 9 appointments tomorrow.
Good for you. I'm sure he's looking forward to tomorrow.
He is so excited.
So I have a restaurant pet peeve. And I got a million restaurant pet peeves, but it just happened to me today, and it's so minor, but it just reinforces to me you need to think about the words that you use when you're with a customer. And I don't know if this is going on in Tasmania, but every time I go to a restaurant and whoever comes to greet you, the host, whatever, they go, just 3,
Yeah.
just 2, just 1. I'm like, is this not enough? Do I need to go get some friends? And I'm like, how did that become a thing in the States to just say just?
That's funny.
Like, does that ever change? Like, wait a minute, I'm going to get on the phone and call a few more people to come over.
That is a great.
It drives me
That's right.
nuts.
Is it just 3? I don't know. Is it just 2?
And if it's 1, it's like, I'm such a loser. I'm sorry, but I need to eat.
Yeah, that's right. But that's a good point. I mean, the words we use, the copy on our websites, but even just the words our team use, because you don't get as Will Rogers says, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression.
Yeah,
it's really powerful for the owner or the manager, the marketing person, to write a powerful script. So there's another great book called Influence by Robert Cialdini. I highly recommend people. It's consumer psychology and on obviously persuasion, and there's some great examples in there around copy and words that people use. For example, charity workers that come around asking for donations. I got hit last week. This young kid turned up at the door. He memorized the script, and I could tell all the words and the key points in his speech exactly what they were doing from this book, that Influence, that I read. Are really, really powerful to get people to buy into whatever you want. So training your team, writing that script, and just changing some of those words into more positive words rather than the negative one of can be really powerful.
So did you give him money just
That's
for the fact that he used the technique?
No, I said, I know what you're doing, and tell the copywriters at head office in marketing that they've done a brilliant job, but I've signed up to enough charities. I'm sorry.
Oh, man. Poor kid. All right.
No, I did tell him, and read this book called Influence so you'll understand what you're actually doing here.
Oh, I like that. So we just had a networking event, and we allowed the Girl Scouts to come in and sell the Girl Scout cookies. I don't know if you know about this.
They sell themselves.
And
I was in Boy Scouts, yeah.
Okay, so they sell these Girl Scout cookies, and they have these certain flavors that are just amazing, right? And so today I had a finance committee for the board I'm on, and I went to him and I was telling this guy, I said, so I made my daughter take 2 of them and just take her to her work because I knew if they were here, I'd eat them. And she didn't take all 3. She just left 1 here. And so one night I was done with dinner and they were open. And so I ate 1.
The whole box.
The whole box was gone before I went to bed. And the lady who runs the group I was part of looked at me and said, "You ate the whole thing that whole night?" I'm like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah.
I said I felt like absolute shit the next morning, but man, I had them
they're
all.
good.
I can't have chocolate in the house. My daughter knows that because otherwise I just inhale it at nighttime. I've got such a sweet tooth.
That was so fun. All right, number 3.
4.
Give us 4. Give 4. D. Can we just go A, B, D? All right. I have 4 questions. It's so hard to put this other question in it.
Use your fingers next time.
All right. How am I going to do it? All right, here we go. I'm up 4. 4th question. Give us a DIY nightmare story working on a house. And we love fire, earthquakes, dismemberment. I actually have all 10 still.
Yep, good.
Yeah, barely.
I think I've got more of a. I haven't really got a DIY. Let me put me on the spot there. I've got a service or a contractor story, if I can share that one. The guys that were doing my lawns. Is that relevant?
Yeah, that's
Sure.
good.
So it's a national chain here in Australia. I won't give the name away, but you'd think that they've got their shit sorted. But this guy I'd have to text him and chase him sometimes to come and turn up to do the lawns. They'd turn up without telling me when they're turning up, blitz the yard in half an hour. It was quite a big yard. And then I wouldn't get an invoice for a few days. A paper invoice would turn up in my mailbox, no stamp on it. So he hasn't mailed it. He's just driven past again, put it in the mailbox. And a few times I've texted him to say, "Can you come and mow my lawns by this date or whatever?" And he said, "Yeah, but you need to pay your bill." And I said, "Well, I need to have a bill to pay." So the fact that this national franchise, they've probably got the systems in place, but this guy's chosen not to use them, was extremely frustrating.
Yeah, that's painful. It's the worst. I actually have I've broken all of my vendors now, but when I first got started, my favorite plumber. My plumber was Bob. He was Bob from Jefferson, and he was my plumber with my Southern accent. And he would just say, "Well, that's some bullshit," and you do that. But he came to me literally 2 weeks before Christmas. Said, "Chris, I haven't been paid on my invoices." I said, "Well, Bob, I haven't seen him." He goes, "Well, I got him right here," and he gives them to me. I'm like, it totaled $10,000. I'm just getting started, right? I'm like 10,000, dude. I didn't have 10,000 in the bank, and I was like, "Well, Bob, what do you want me to do with this?" He goes, "Well, I don't know. I guess you're just going to have to pay me." I said, "Well, I can't." And it was 2 weeks before Christmas, so I knew what I was. I was his Christmas piggy bank, and so he was collective because he had to go out and buy gifts for his kids and stuff. I said, "Bob, how about this, man? I'll do 5 now. I'll do 5 on January 15th. How about that?" He goes, "Okay." And so he would do that to me, and I love this guy, and he would charge me nothing. And he is a great guy, and God bless him. He actually has passed away. He taught me a lot about plumbing and everything else. But if I didn't love the guy so much, I was just like, but I sat there for 2 hours trying to figure out how the hell am I going to pay this guy?
We switched doctors once because the doctor was great, but their staff, the whole administrative process of it was so bad. And it was another little business lesson. It's like, okay, you can have the process great and the service is great, but then the administrative part can torpedo everything.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. Well, Troy, this has been great. I know you plugged a couple things. Go ahead and plug some other things. We'll get those things in the show notes as well. But how can everybody get a hold of you? Tell us how we can all find out more about how to drink more. No,
Well, probably best place to go to my LinkedIn. So just Troy Trewin. So Trewin is my last name. Connect with me there on LinkedIn. Check out, and you can see all the businesses I've been involved with and the ones I am currently now, like the Distillers Institute there. But the main one I'd say is to go to growasmallbusiness.com and check out our podcast on there. As I said, we've had Chris on that went live in February 2023 this year, which was a great cast. And there's a heap more. There's probably 60 or 70 different industries and niches that we've had across those 300 casts. So there's some really interesting stories in there.
Yeah, I definitely highly tell everybody, if you're listening to this podcast, keep listening, but go ahead and listen to this one too. Grow a Small Business. It's great stuff. Go out there and find it online. I'll put it in the show notes. You'll find something out there. If you don't find something out there, then there's something wrong with you because you're not looking to grow. Keep making it a great day, everybody. We've got to go out there, make some money, and go out there and hit those distilleries. Let's go make it happen.
Troy, come visit.
Will do, guys. Thank you very much.